Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and for those of you who aren't familiar with my content, you are getting lazy Ainsley today because there is plaster on the wall, plaster on the floors, plaster on my face, and I am not turning on the camera for love nor money. Yeah, I'm doing home renovations right now and they are taking forever. But I did want to say a couple things about the movie Shang Chi, which I know I've pronounced wrong and I'm going to be pronouncing everything wrong, but anyway, I often go on the principle that if I don't have anything particularly interesting to say, I won't really talk about a project. And I went to see this with a few friends of mine, and the reaction was, I really liked this too, it was good. And yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. It felt pretty much like standard Marvel movie. Well, there were a lot of good things about it, but on the whole, it felt kind of like a Phase 1 movie, and I think that's the problem with origin stories at this stage of the MCU. There isn't really much you can do to make them stand out and make them interesting, at least on a narrative basis. You can make them stand out in terms of style, like they did that with Doctor Strange. The visuals in that were absolutely stunning. So I think the biggest thing about this film that you can applaud is its action set pieces, and even though I stay well away from the Disney live action remakes on principle, I did see a couple of clips of Mulan on YouTube, and I know they were trying to recreate old Chinese action cinema with wire work and that kind of floaty kind of aesthetic with the wind blowing about. I don't know the technical names for it, but I know exactly what the style looks like. And Mulan did not do that very well, it just looked stupid. This film, on the other hand, does it really well. I mean, I don't know if a Chinese person, someone who's been exposed to this cinema a lot more than I have, would disagree with me, but from my limited perspective, I thought it was pretty good. The story, like I said, is cookie cutter Marvel. There's not much to it. The one other thing that I will praise, however, is the villain. I really liked this villain. And the actor Tony Leung, I think, was amazing. This was a character that was kind of a power for power's sake character, and that is a difficult kind of person to make interesting or compelling. But this actor really pulled it off, and in a very subtle way. He didn't shout or scream or throw things or break down crying or show all that much emotion, but the things that he did show were so subtle and so well done, and really, this guy was the best actor in the movie. He was brilliant, and I'm kind of sad that he's gone, but this is comic books. I'm sure if they want to bring him back, they will. So that's what I thought was good about the movie, but there are a few complaints I have, mostly centering around one specific problem. This one. Now, the thing that came to mind for me while watching this actress's performance is that she came across more like a comedian, and I went home and looked her up, and she is primarily a comedic actress. And surprisingly enough, this is quite an uncommon decision, an uncommon casting choice for Marvel. If you look back at their films, yes, there is quite a decent bit of comedy in them. That is something Marvel has been criticized for in the past, too much comedy. But when a comedic beat is used to lighten the mood, it's either said by a main character or a secondary character that is there primarily to serve a dramatic purpose. And when a character is there purely for comedy, like what comes off the top of my head is Volstagg from the Thor movies, it isn't usually a primarily comedic actor that's hired for this purpose. The only outlier other than Shang-Chi that comes to mind is the Ant-Man movies, where they did hire comedic actors to serve the comedic purpose in the heist crew. But even then, they weren't nearly as intertwined with the main character as Katie Chen was here. And they certainly weren't given, or at least the writers attempted to give her, a character arc. So, in short, this is surprisingly an unusual decision on Marvel's part. Does that make it a bad one? No, not on principle, but for me, this character just got in the way. She intruded on the movie so much, and if you don't find her funny, it can really, really, really drag down the movie, and it did it for me. Like, when they ended up in Shang-Chi's mother's village, and they were preparing for battle, and she was just going around saying, yeah, I really admire you guys, yeah, I'm just drifting around aimless in the world, and you guys, you know what you want to do, you have a purpose, I'm just kind of purposefulness, I just do whatever, and I'm like, shut the fuck up! Jesus Christ! A giant demon monster is about to come out and eat people's souls and possibly end the world, and you are just nattering on. Like, Jesus Christ, why are you even here? And this is not a criticism of the actress, by the way. She was hired as a comedic character to serve a comedic purpose. She did exactly what the narrative and what the script asked of her. This is in no way her fault. It is the entire idea of this character I object to. And if she was just annoying, then I could just write her off as a part of the movie I didn't like. But the big problem is that she intrudes on the story and takes time away from parts that should have been focused on so much more. The sister character was so shafted in this movie, seriously. All we get is, you didn't come back for me, and Dad didn't pay attention to me, and that's it. And at the end, they're hanging off the dragon, and he says, I'm not going to let you go this time, and that is meant to be narratively satisfying for the audience. And I know there's an end credit scene where she's taken over the 10 rings and yada yada, but clearly in this movie, in this narrative, that is meant to be some kind of satisfying resolution to their sibling problems. And it's very much not. It is so lazy and cheap, and they didn't focus on these two's relationship at all. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe he said one line to her, but the father does not say a single line to his daughter throughout this entire film. And yes, we did say that he ignored her and that he wasn't comfortable with her because the mother died, yada yada, but if that is meant to be a specific character beat and character motivation in a main character, someone who is potentially going to be the villain of the next movie, you kinda have to resolve it before you kill the dad. My god. These two characters do not say a single word to each other, and we are stuck looking at this pointless character who does not fit into the movie at all, just going on and on about how aimless she is and how irresponsible she is and how she can't find her way, and I do not care. So yeah, those are the problems with the movie, and they are pretty much all centered around this one character. And don't even get me started on how she has a couple of archery lessons and suddenly she's the one who saves the day with archery. My god, that was probably the laziest thing in the movie. It was awful. So how would I fix this? Well, obviously I would cut this character out altogether. I would convey Shang-Chi's backstory and his inner turmoil far more subtly, use some visual cues, don't just put in an audience avatar that he tells the entire thing to. Now, I am aware that I do use the word lazy quite a lot. I've used it quite a lot in this review, as a matter of fact, but that is incredibly lazy. I don't think I need to say the very key writing rule they broke there, but again, everything wrong with this movie, at least in my opinion, seems to be wrapped up with this character. So get her out of the way, actually convey Shang-Chi's backstory and inner turmoil in a much more creative way, get the brother and sister together much sooner, have them work through their issues, and a little bit more interaction with the father, and maybe we might have a movie that is more cohesive, less annoying, and far more emotionally relevant. So let's sum up. The movie was visually interesting, the action was good, the villain was great, even if he should have had more time to shine if it weren't for other stupid intrusions into the movie. And the things that are bad is all tied up with one big writing mistake. I'm not even going to call it a mistake, I'm going to call it a miscalculation. They deeply miscalculated with this character. I think they were banking on her being incredibly charming and people wanting to see more of her, and maybe people do want to see more of her. I am not a voice for the entire audience, but whether or not she was a charming character, she took away from things that were far more narratively relevant. So everyone, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. I'll be back on camera with my next video. It's going to be a ranking of the DCAMU movies. I've been putting that one off for a little while because I had so much more to do, but I've kind of got a gap in the things I want to cover. And just to let everyone know, if you followed this review series that I did, the rankings probably won't come as that much of a surprise to you, but if you didn't, then you might be taken aback by the very specific gripes that I had with this series. So subscribe if you want to see some incessant complaining about incredibly lazy, childish morality, especially surrounding royalty.